What's going on, everyone? Just wanted to say hello and welcome everyone, whoever watches this video. You're in for a treat. You're in for a treat because, as the video says, how to integrate your shadow self. What does shadow integration even mean? I mean, me doing this video, I'm telling you right now, I am doing shadow work. See, the first video, I made a video a couple days ago entitled The Art of Understanding the Art of Shadow Work. How to integrate your shadow. And it was the what, like what is it? What is the shadow self, and Carl Jung, it was Jung philosophy, uh, and I kind of talked about the history of that. I kind of talked about the shadow in terms of the nafs. Okay, so the what is it? And it's that feeling you get when you're in the darkness and you feel something's there. It's like an aspect of you. Some people can sleep with the lights off in their room, but if they are in another environment and the lights are off, they might get scared. It's like everybody has different degrees of their shadow hidden within. And the moment of darkness, any kind of darkness, depending on how much you have seen human nature. For example, I was a police officer and I saw the worst of human nature. I saw murderers, I saw, vile people, I seen what the shadow of humanity was capable of in terms of like crazy stuff, right? And I was even part of that possibly, like things that I did. So I even saw my own self, like what was I freaking capable of, at that moment, you know, like what part of me, it wasn't me that took over, it was something else, you know, and it was like training that just took over, like boom, 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 shoot. You get trained and it's like your shadow self, it becomes to your subconscious level, the training, and then boom, it's like that's how you're supposed to be. That's how a you take emotion out of it. But we're human, and people, some people have thick skin, some people have very thin skin, and they get offended by little things, because that is a reflection of their own inner shadow that is interpreting. I can't even talk today. Hold on. It's like, so the analogy, integrate your shadow self. So it's like the more you know your own human nature, the more you know your weaknesses, why people trigger you, like, oh, you know what, and you start seeing that aspect of you bubble up. Like someone might get road rage really quickly, but they're a nice person, really sweet, and alhamdulillah, oh, thank you, sir, and opening doors, very chivalrous, a lot of respect for old people. But then the moment someone cuts them off, they become they get road rage. It's like something happens to them. I've seen this before. Next to me, like, dude, you're gonna freaking kill somebody. Like, this is not good. It's not like oh gosh, like road rage is a very, very deep-seated, suppressed shadow that is freaking getting powerful, and it's like it's acting out in the subconscious mind, like at a subconscious level. And for the most part, these people tend to have like split personalities, and certain things trigger the shadow to kind of like lurch out, So it's like the more you know your own shadow, the more you know your own triggers, you know, it's like one thing thinking it's just psychology, but it's like you have to understand energy, frequency, vibration, and what is your shadow? Like, what is the shadow self? The shadow self is that. So there's no shadow in the darkness, right? In a dark room, there's no shadow because everything is the shadow. See, the light part, our physical self is the light passing through, reflecting the darkness, which is onto the light, which is this, everything physical. It's all darkness. That's why in a pitch black room, you can't see the outline of anything, and it's all dark. See, when a light turns on, because things are defined, this is the wall, this is that, this is gravity, oh, we can't see, this is air we're breathing, it's like it. We've been taught that since we were born, you know, because children, when babies are born, they don't know these things. They just cry and open their eyes and whatever. It's like they learn the reality that it was agreed upon. But once you understand this, then you understand what your shadow is. Now your shadow can reflect very fine, detailed projections of the soul, into the physical. So you can use the shadow, like that's what it like. You can use the anger instead of putting it out on like the car and road rage and endangering other people. You take that anger, you learn where that root trigger is coming from. It's coming from maybe lack of people understanding you, or you suppressing your talent, and you have this thing, but you're shy to you're shy of criticism from your parents or something, but it's like that is the root cause of your road rage, of your uncontrolled anger issues, and then once you confront that part of you, then that means understanding maybe that parent that where their anger is coming from. It's coming from their own shadow, and it's like it's not you. It's like people are living in lower dimensions, as in like they're so attached to the physical illusion that it's like everything. They're almost like reptilian mindset. It's all about security. It's like nothing higher, no higher faculties. But that's not up to you. That's not for you to judge or anything. See, the shadow, when you work with the shadow self, you're working with purely your own self. And as you purify yourself, you see how you were those things at various levels, various degrees. Maybe you didn't physically kill somebody, but maybe you really planned out that murder, and you would have done it, but it's like you lived that vibration, that energy of a killer, or of someone that that the hormones, the imagination psychologically has possibly made it real to you. But it's like then your logical mind kicks in and be like, oh yeah, and you meet the person every weekend, because they're family, and it's like, but you harness this ill feeling towards them and you can't express it. It's like that anger, that's the shadow self. That see that your total vibration would become that person of that person that suppresses that thought, and you don't get to the root cause of it. Yeah, so it's almost like you go to the metaphysical, you go to the thought, where the thought comes from, then it gets into what you believe about yourself, and then it goes into all this work. I mean, shadow work is no joke. And if you've gotten this far in the video, then you know that there's that part of us. And a lot of people say, well, okay, they're jinns, that's what you feel when you turn the light off. They're jinns. It's like, yeah, jinns, but it's like jinn, genie are thought forms that you have created in your mind. And how deep that thought form is, and how you even envision it. Let's just say, for example, you were told jinn stories all your life and you're terrified of them, but you love hearing them, and it's like, no, you can't watch horror movies. You're like, it's like you gotta sleep with the lights on. It's like that person, that thought form of that jinn, and of what will come about if you go into the shadow and work, and get into the root issue of yourself and doing the spiritual thing, then you'll see these things, and then you actually might see it. But if it frightens you and makes you retreat back in the shadow deeper, then it successfully has controlled you, because you're going to stay the same person, with the same desire to become greater, but fear of, you might get fear of poverty, fear of people laughing at you, fear of whatnot. These are all issues that require shadow work, where you say, why am I have this desire, this light in me that's from the divine, and I know I can do these great things, and I know I've seen parts of me in the past do these things, but somewhere along the line, I listened to people's negative comments. I listened to all these things, and I started believing them because my reflection started to reflect it, and then it's like, then you catch, it's like, what, too many times I've had these inspirational moments and I suppressed it. And every time I don't suppress it and I allow it to just kind of fill me with that inspiration, inner light, and then like knowing you just got to do it without fear of what people will say or what they'll think of you weird or whatnot, without those things, just, it, because this is a freaking illusion. And you can have abundance and fulfillment, and it's just part of the game. If you are trying to be successful, like, oh, I just want success, if you're chasing success, then failure is what has to happen for the success to come about. Because the thing is, people are scared of failure. They want that success, but they're not getting it because they're scared of failing. And it can be at different levels of failing, of, okay, they'll failing going the next step, or failing to take that real leap, and just doing it, and that is what is needed. Because yes, you might mess up, you might, but you might learn something. You might learn, okay, you know what? This is why this happened, because of this reason, and then it's like you see the blueprint of why it happened, and it's like, you don't do that again. It's like it cracked something. The failure finally cracked something, allowing the light to come in, and then now it's like you jump higher towards the light, and it's like okay, it's like, hey, I'm not really failing. It's just actually I'm just going higher and just going higher, and it's like all of a sudden you're like you're that form. You know what I mean? It's like it's the energy, and you're tapping into it, and it's flowing through you. But now you need physical, like, things that are tied to the physical. You need passion. You need fear, but you don't need fear of the unknown. You can have fear. You can translate that fear into, like, I don't want to die, but I don't fear death. It doesn't mean I want to start stabbing myself and dying in pain. No, I'm not a masochist or sadist or anything like that. So it's like, but I don't fear. It's like, I understand I don't fear death. So why am I fearing doing this live video? Like how this is shadow work is because 2 days ago I did this part 1, and the part 2, which is now that how this part 2, I was not going to make this because the shadow self was saying, well, just do it some other time, and your family just went to Moldova, and it's like giving me excuses. And if I didn't do it, then I would just revert back to my shadow self, because the inner light, the divine light, was shining light on it. It knows it should do the video, but it's saying this other aspect of me saying, don't do it now. That's the shadow aspect. So that I have to go in there and be like, okay, why am I saying, okay, let's do it tomorrow? Or why am I procrastinating? And it's because, okay, oh, you're going to sound bad, or oh, you don't have the right words, And it's like, no, you just say it. You just start flowing. And when you're being authentic and you're just flowing and you're doing it through your own experience, then it's like that's integrating the shadow. It's like the physical body does have to speak. It's like speech therapy. It's like if you have a speech problem, you dealing with you dealing with therapy about, okay, why you get anxious because people are gonna laugh at you, or when you were 6 years old, they laughed at you, and this and that. It's like you deal with those things, and in the meantime, tongue you do tongue exercises, like oh, do re mi fa sol, like in the announcers, they would practice this, like do re mi fa sol ya la ta ti do. I don't know what the hell the musical index, do re mi fa sol. And and the crazy thing is, these are practices to uh, make that shadow a more conscious aspect. Knowing the shadow consciously, knowing why you make decisions consciously at that soul level to the mind. When you give that command to the mind, is it the mind giving you the command that's created this matrix around you, or is it from a higher source, the command? That's what it is, basically. And the more you understand the nature of reality and the elements, and the light and the and energy, frequency, and vibration, and how certain names of Allah, for example, are certain energies. The Punisher, that is an energy, but it's at a high vibration, as in it's not going to be like the Punisher and just kill people because you think you're wronged. No, it's like highest form of punishment, as in the highest vibration, because now I can punish my is if I am I punishing myself by drinking this because I'm depriving my body of Pepsi? No, it's like, but to the soul, I mean, to the nafs, to the shadow, taking away Pepsi and replacing it with stevia drink, which is a plant-based, it's gonna fight it for a long time. You're like, no, I want that Pepsi. Pepsi is so much better. It's gonna go through withdrawals, and it's gonna, all these things are gonna happen to the shadow. It's gonna want it, and then it's gonna give up. It's gonna give up, right? That's what fasting is. That's why it's good. It's gonna give up after making all the fuss and noise. It's gonna get tired, and then it's like, but you keep on being true, and then it's like, what, you give it a treat. It's like, what, thank you, body. You broke the horse, the wild horse, you broke it. That's internal reference of internal shadow. These are all references. Your jinn, you caught the genie in the bottle, basically. um or you let the genie out, but you are not tricked by the three wishes and thinking it's some kind of, no, it's like, no, your wish is my command. It's like, this is what it is now. The shadow's wish is your command. And now it's difficult to get all the command. I'm just saying is that you have to let the shadow out, and doing like this is treating the shadow, and because I like the taste now, and it's cherry cola. The shadow's happy, and that's, it's just you know, it just flows. You know, it's like I'm happy, everyone's happy. And and wow, it's just it's really awesome shadow work. Um, Now, how to really like induce. Um, Now, also with shadow work, there's trance. You know, you can get into trance. That is a scientific thing. You know, like Vicar. What do you think Vicar does? Is like repeat words. Like it's literally breathing. Is like, oh, you know, whatever. Oh, it's like, you know, it's like breathing exercises. It's like, and when you say certain words with it, you're making certain vibrations, right? And that is that what that does if you do repeated times, you know, it starts at a certain alpha. You're starting at an alpha wave. For example, I'm awake. I'm alpha state right now. You know, like I'm awake consciously. Now, when you're conscious, then it's very difficult to implant commands to your subconscious mind. That's done at the theta wavelength. You know, it's theta. And that's why, you know, subliminal messages, that's what it deals with, your subconscious mind. It's always in, you know, certain colors and certain patterns and certain geometrical forms and certain kind of like energies projected out to you in terms of color, or um, even the way the person is presented to you. It's in symmetrical form. You know, the face is symmetrical. It's not all unsymmetrical, you know? So that's what's presented to you as this perfect symmetry. But of course, there's perfect symmetry in nature. But what I'm saying is, like, even though it looks like a rose is all like bent, like, okay, I don't know. That's not a good example, but like, it's like a flower you see in a magazine versus a flower you just see like growing in a rose bush, you know? Um, that one looks perfect and this one is like, it's kind of this, but no, it was all perfect. It's just your neglect, or the decaying part of it you're seeing, you know, or you're seeing the wind moving things, you know. It's like, it's always perfect, you know, nature. um, Perfect even in its chaos. It's just, it's not perceived as symmetrical or perfect. um, and the amount of imperfect you see in other people, imperfection and criticism you give out to other people, that is just a reflection of your own inner shadow that is actually is aligned to that vibration in other people. It takes one to know one, kind of thing, you know. And and there's certain ways to also induce that theta state. Is one, like I said, is chanting, and then it lowers your blood pressure, your breathing, you know. Then you start getting into theta state, a theta brainwave state, and that is when, you know, you can really feed your mind, you know. And in that state of theta state, you're awake. You can have around you certain symbols and certain geometrical patterns that are that are complex, that is just being fed into your mind, all these complex things, and then reading upon, you know, what this frequency is, because color has a frequency. And, you know, color absorb light, you know, color. And then also, if everything is a frequency and vibration, then the form and the frequency of vibration, you know, is going to be, it's not going to be like blobby, you know, like being like a blah. It's like, you know, those see those floaty things just floating, you know. It's like, it doesn't have a spine. It's like your spine is your nervous system and how you move, and how you utilize your joints, you know. So like, if you're moving like just head down, and you're walking with your head down and you're kind of slouched over, then that is a that is a physical reflection of your shadow also. Because somebody that slouches down and looks down all the time, it maybe has low self-confidence, or or when no one's watching, they're sad because they're putting on a show because they're sad and they're fake. You know what I mean? It's like all kinds of things. That's when we let our shadow out. Usually it's like, like I'm a guy, like, when there's been times when I've been walking around naked. It's like you just let it hang out. You just let the light in where the light don't shine, kind of thing. It's like one of those things, right? And it's like you do that to the shadow, but it's not in a bad way. It's like it feels good, right? Walking around, just being free first, like a moment, even if it's for 5 minutes. It's like, well, free, yes, walking around, like a little baby. um and and then it's like you have to do that to the shadow. And see, people have mastered that in different ways. They become great actors, and that shadow self it's like they become somebody else. They become a character. They become, they or they have this writing something, or whatever, some imagination. It's like, because it's like you have the shadow now, which is the physical. It's only a physical. It's enough. It's the ego. It only exists in this matrix, in this physical perceived reality, um, because when this form is gone and was dead, it's like the energy, it doesn't cease to exist. It just transmutes. It just goes in a different form, a different reality, whatever vibration it was. So I mean, I don't want to get into this talk, but when you do your shadow work, uh, you you have to think of it as the reptile you, the reptilian you. That's why it's like they say we have a reptilian mind. The core, the first, the oldest part of the brain. The first part of the brain is the reptile part, and then that reptile, like, it's like a baby learning. A baby is born like without knowing the physical, but as it grows, it physically grows, but its brain grows too. And that reptile part, it starts building upon the reptile part. And there comes a point where it's like, as they grow up, that imagination part gets suppressed, and then they have to formate part of it, be a part of a defined, you know, um, part of society, you know. Um, but the people that succeed can get to that imagination state at even an older age. So you get to the imagination state, and you have all these amazing ideas that are coming from a higher realm, not coming from, um, oh, what if my team's going to win, or you have all these physical distractions, tie downs to all these things, that are distract you from actually knowing yourself. And some people might know like everything about every single sports player. It's like, I'm just saying. But some people, it's a passion for them, and it's like they know so much. It's like, but they just know it. But uh, it's like, if directed in a way where you allow them that passion of being so knowledgeable, and like passionate about, say for example, cars. So how do you take that passion and kind of get energy out of it, instead of you just expending energy talking about it but not getting anything in return? It's like, except, okay, oh, this guy knows a lot about cars. Oh yeah, I don't know about cars. It's like, okay, that's you're giving all this energy about the knowledge of cars and these insights and all these things, and this person, that person, and why this person made this, and all this knowledge. It's like gold, right? And you're giving it to people, but it's like they're just they're just swallowing it and pooping it out. Not, but they're paying attention to you. It's like, I'm not saying, I'm just saying that it's that energy has to be directed. And it's about believing yourself, believing that, hey, you can make, uh, you can fulfill other passions through this passion, this main passion. Maybe you have passion to travel and this and that. It's like that main passion can be the foundation of all the other passions. See, but it's like what we do is we have the passion, and then we have the 9 to 5, we have the standard what you have to do, obligation to, and then you have the passion, and it gets a little bit of, you get whatever is left over. That core part of you gets whatever is left over. So of course the shadow grows, and the more it grows, the harder it will be to get out of that hole of like depression. No matter what kind of money you make or don't make, it's always going to be chasing after some physical illusion, when it was always kind of like made manifest through your own state of belief. And the number one step is, knowing that you have a shadow, and then somehow you start integrating that shadow. If do you do it what scares you? If it scares you to ask for the raise, then you do that. You ask for it, but you know the rules. Maybe in your corporation, if you put in a memo and you meet the requirements and you can do that, then do it the legal way. You know what I mean? Like, every corporation has their bylaws and their corporate compliance and all that stuff. You know that. It doesn't matter what anybody says, because that is the entity you work for, not your boss. Your corporate compliance in any freaking business, government, police department, the book. It doesn't matter what the question is or how you want to get promoted. It's all in the book. You just know the book. It doesn't matter what you think it is or what the norm is. It's like, if you know the corporate compliance book and the procedures and policies of a company, then of a company, of a corporation, of a corpse, and it's something that needs energy of other people, but it doesn't need my energy. Say, for example, your corporation needs specific energy. Maybe you're human resources, so it needs a specific kind of energy from you to be part of the human resources. If you're part of the logistical part of the shipping part, then you have to have special skills for that. You're not going to be a designer in the shipping department, or vice versa. Gosh, I'm talking a lot, but this is all occult. It's all divine information. This is all amazing. I mean, it's like really, you a lot of people see their shadow self when they have like a life and death situation, or someone passed away, and it's like, what, they know, or they have a diagnosis or something, then they kind of, they're faced with they know, it's like, what, I ate in a shitty way, this is why I'm like this. And that is meeting your shadow self. Now what are you going to do about it? So you have to own your problems. You have to own it, and then you have to say, what, it's not this person's fault, it was mine. You can, maybe you're reflecting their anger, you're reflecting their anger. They yell at you, so you yell back, but in your mind you're like, oh, I'm just defending my honor. It's like, what? It's like, dude, forget it. It's like, it's like, it's just amazing. It's just definitely something that has to be done. If you want to have some kind of success or fulfillment, you have to tackle the shadow first. Forget everything else. Forget all that. It's tackling the issue of your core, like, belief system. Why do you believe what you believe? Why do you believe you can't, have this or that, or be this kind of person? Why can't you change the world? Why not? Who says you can't? Okay, so yeah, tackle that shadow, one way to see, like if you think this is kind of like not true, but there's some things out there and you believe in jinns and all that, then you just go to the bathroom and just kind of like shut the door, turn the light off, and just kind of allow your thoughts to wander. And I guarantee you're going to kind of get freaked out a little bit. You're going to be like, what the hell? You just kind of think of all these scary movies, think of all these thoughts, think of like something around you, like think of all the frightening scenes, and you'll start getting freaked out. And then it's like, if you allow yourself to freak out, allow it, knowing whatever you see, it can't hurt you. It can't do anything to you. It's like you becoming lucid in a dream. So that's happened to me before. And that's a lot of times when you meet your shadow self too. Like say in a nightmare, you're having a nightmare and something's chasing you and you're running away and you're like, oh, I woke up and it's like, okay, it was just a nightmare, but you're living a nightmare during the day too. When the boss is when some deadline's coming up, that becomes that clown chasing you. And it's like in the dream of that nightmare, you allow that nightmare to complete itself. Allow yourself to die. Allow yourself to get caught by the serial killer. Then you're gonna be like, well, wait a second, he's not really anything. It's like it's not real. Like I remember this one time I was in a warehouse, like very smoky, dusk, like 3 in the morning, and it's like creepy and wet, and it's like a abandoned, broke down warehouse, and this freight elevator comes down like creaking, and you can see the numbers moving. It's like coming down, and then maybe like I don't know, like 15 feet away, and it opens up, and this it's like a side profile. So this person comes out. It's an old lady with a very long gray hair. She's kind of floating, kind of like Baba Yaga, floating, and it comes towards me, and for a second I got scared. I'm like, holy shit, this is like creepy, but it's like I see it coming closer, and I'm like, wait a second, this is really cool, it's like really, I'm lucid dreaming. Like this is when I started to lucid dream, actively. I'm like, I'm lucid dreaming. Oh my God, I'm lucid dreaming. And then I see it come closer, and I'm like looking, it's trying to scare me. It's like, it's trying to make me scared, right? And I know that. I know that in my mind. Where the hell the mind is. It's not in the brain because it's not happening. I don't know. It's the real reality. It's a dream. It's all a dream. So we're like in a dream, and the dream we have in a dream is like Inception. So like anyways, so in this dream, this old lady was trying to scare me, and I'm looking at her. She's like really scary looking. I'm like, wow, this is really freaking realistic, And then I just go through her, like I literally just go through her, and it's like, and then once I went through her, she's becomes like my, like like if you have a puppy, and it's always around you, but it's not like yapping away. It's not like irritating. It's not like shitting everywhere. It's like a really happy Rottweiler, but it's not like overburdening people, it's like it's your own personal energy, because now you're not frightened by that, and then it's like once you integrate with your shadow, then it's like the shadow helps you, it helps invoke a stronger energy, like by neurological responses, physical responses, hormone production. So if I start eating certain foods, healthy and anti-inflammatory foods, my body will be less inflamed, which is less mucus, which is more flow and breathing and oxygen. And it's like a machine, and it's the shadow is the physical beast, is the 666, the carbon-based life form, the atoms and electrons in a conscious form. And it's like it's all one, because everything is oneness. There's no separation. We're just individualized expressions in certain various frequencies and vibrations of the oneness of everything, of the all, of the source. It is all one. It's like collective consciousness inside, like it's all one. I mean, the divine can't be in something that is outside of the divine. You know, space can't be outside of space. But the further you are from that understanding, the less consciousness you have of that infinity, you know, of the source. Like a an insect, you know, I'm not saying, you know, an insect is a perfect insect. A dung beetle doesn't try to be like a, a wasp, you know what I mean? But see, we are defined as humans, and humans do this, and oh, we live in this society, this is what's normal, no, this is that, and it's like the more you get defined, the more you have certain matrix on you to give you that definition, that form, and you have to be defined. I mean, I'm not trying to say, you know, become like nothing. I'm saying is, you know what, fine, I'm going to define myself as a blah blah blah, as this person with these, you know, with this, with that, and this whole structure, you know, and you define it, and then you define yourself within to, and that external will manifest. It'll like, it's like the, you know, the plant coming out of the ground, you know, it'll start manifesting because it has to happen inside the ground first, in subconscious first, and change the physiological, literally your physical nature will change because your liver, I mean, if you start losing a lot of body fat, that's only because your liver doesn't have fatty liver. See, a lot of people, their liver is, if your liver has fatty liver, if you have fatty liver, because too much insulin production, and then the fat has to go somewhere, it stays there. You know, it's like fatty liver. I don't know exactly. I can't recall exactly what it is, but I know if you have fatty liver and then you have adipose tissue fat and then you have external fat, you know, then basically you can't lose that huge gut, not before your liver starts getting healthier. You gotta start, it's gotta start burning its own fat. So when a, like an obese person, for example, they have fatty liver, you know, a lot of people have fatty liver, 40%. That's not a small number. It's like four out of 10 people have fatty liver. And if you have fatty liver, um, then man, it's like you have to tackle the problem first. And the liver has to do with your, you know, they say, for example, the heart has to do with your soul and, like, you know, your passions, you know, of like a higher nature, you know, like love for a brother or sister, you know, that's like, that's not physical human type thing, you know, it's beyond that physical nature in the love, in the heart, you know, to feel joy. It's past the physical thing, but to pleasure something, you know, want something, to want success, to want the world and this, to want to look good in front of people, that those kind of desires, they're from the liver. This is all occult. It's liver function. It's like the passion. So it's like, so that's why liver detox is so important. You know, when you detox the liver of its impurities, that way your instincts of the physical nature won't be at the level of your liver function or dysfunction, you know. And this is all from shadow work because it's all connected. The physical and the non-physical, the psychological and the health and the physiological and the mental, it's all connected. If one part of your self is is lacking, then it's going to be reflected in all the other parts. It's all a fine moving Rolex. You know, if one part of a freaking Rolex gets messed up or is even uh, somehow damaged or worn out or needs attention, it's going to mess up the whole movement of the clock. And then if left unchecked, that will spread like a disease. The vibration, the misalignment of that vibration will spread to different components of a car, of a Rolex. And if that happens, then you are freaking damn sure you're going to be, I bet you're going to be taken to the dealership, especially if you have a lease on it, you know? For sure you're taking it to the dealership. Or if you don't have a lease and you bought it and you don't have any money, you're going to be freaking nervous. You're going to be nervous. You're going to be asking everybody, oh, how to do this, how to do that. No, because you're worried. It's like a vibration and it will spread to all parts of your life. That is why you do shadow work. And it is scary at first, but it is, it's time to grow up, you know? You're scared at 12 years old of scary movies. You're 40 years old, you're 50 years old, you're 30 years old. You're still scared of these movies? Like what part of you get scared? And just that is shadow work too. You know, maybe watching some movies and be like, why are you scared? You know what? Because you've been told this and that, and then it's reinforced when you watch a movie, because when you're watching a movie, you're allowing your conscious mind to not be the gatekeeper, you know, and you let your subconscious mind just eat it up while eating popcorn, you know. So next time you're eating popcorn, it's going to be playing out in your subconscious mind, and you're like, oh, is this? There's going to be a clown coming out of this little thing, you know, out of a freaking manhole, you know. But it's like, even though you might laugh about it, like, haha, that's funny. It's not real. It's just a movie, because your conscious mind came up and be like, hey, just say it's a movie, you know. But it's like it really freaked you out, didn't it? Anyway, so yeah, shadow work is no joke. But once you can get lost in it, as in like you can get lost in your shadow. You know, that's a warning, because you start getting power. It's like, wow, you have power to like really change things in your life. And if you're aligned, if you understand, you know, if you have a higher purpose and it's not based upon your way's right and everybody's wrong, if it's a passion, you know, and you just express yourself, if it's tied to, you know, making your parents happy or your community happy or your definition of the God told to you in this 21st century, you know, then you are gonna be that 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 programming will come out in a negative way somewhere, because something else has defined something for you without you possibly making it. But once you take this journey, things will, your belief will transform, you know, into a more mature, to a more expansive knowledge. So it's not like, so as you go on this path, this journey, the path appears, you know, and that's what it is. And you can't allow the ego to make the decision for you. It is a good tool. The shadow is a tool. The ego is a tool, and it's an amazing tool. And if you utilize that tool, it'll give you the best this physical has to offer. But we're more than physical. So this is how it's done, you know, shadow work. It's the absolute necessity. Okay, so please comment, you know, and let me know if this video helped you out. If I confused you, then please ask me some questions and I will clarify them. Ask me more questions and I will do my best to convey to you my perspective, what I've learned through doing this stuff, and kind of like learning to not allow my ego to make decisions for me. But sometimes the ego is needed to get that energy too, you know. So that's allowing it to come out. That's allowing to bathe in the sun, you know. That's allowing it, you know, like that body to train, you know, to draw and just let that flow through the physical body and the ability to hold a steady pen and whatnot, you know. Okay, everyone, take care. Assalamu alaikum. Peace.